Okay.
It's 6 o'clock, Chair, over to you.
Thank you very much. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you very much for attending this meeting. I think we are all very much aware of the arrangements for virtual meetings. If you would like to raise a hand, then I will ask you to raise your questions. Blah, blah. I think everybody does know those things. Joe, do we have any apologies for absence, please?
We do, Chair. We received apologies from Councillors Wrench, Councillor Zubair, and Councillor Cobendale, although Councillor Adams is here as ex officio.
Thank you very much. Declarations of interest. To receive declarations of interest under consideration on this agenda in accordance with the Localisation Act 2011, Section 32, and the relevant authorities, brackets, disclosable pecuniary interests, Regulations 2012. Members are reminded that should you declare a pecuniary interest at a meeting, it is your responsibility to inform the monitoring officer. Number 1, declarations of interest from members, please. None? Very good. Declarations of interest from officers.
There's none, Chair.
None.
Thank you very much. Public question time and participation. Members of the public are advised that they are welcome to ask questions about items on the agenda. It is not always possible to give a verbal response at the meeting, and questions may receive a written reply. No resolution can be made under this item. Questions should relate to a matter of town council policy or practice and not relate to an individual affairs of either the questioner or any other named person. Joe, do we have anybody else?
We don't, Chair, no.
Thank you very much. Minutes for decision. Members are asked to approve the minutes of the Finance and Audit Committee held on Monday the 16th of November. Do I have a seconder? Do I have a proposer? Josh Clarkson, seconded by Councillor Curtis. All those in favour? Thank you very much. So passed. Progress report for noting. Okay. Does anybody have any queries on this particular agenda item? None? Okay, could I have a proposer to say that we have noted this, please? Thank you, Councillor Curtis. Seconder?
No, you don't need to propose or second it.
Oh, really? Do we just need to say that we have noted?
Yes.
Thank you very much, Councillor Adams. Sorry, Town Clerk. So that is then noted. Financial reports for decision. I think I'll probably hand that over to you, Naomi.
Hi. So you've got the usual reports. You've got the bank reconciliations for your main 2 cash books. That's your current account, and then your money, the account that holds most of the money, cash book 2. They're both reconciled. Then you've actually got the cash books. So that's the list of all the receipts and payments. So that's when usually 2 councillors agree to pick out some random payments and ask me for the invoices and anything else to do with them that they want. I haven't been informed of any requirements to be put forward. And then we've got the bank mandate, and the reason we've got the bank mandate on there is because it was proposed that the deputy town clerk become a bank signatory, as we realised when when I was off on annual leave, and also when Joe was off on annual leave, there's just 2 people that can just ratify the digital payments, the transfers. It leaves you a little bit vulnerable. So it was to suggest that you put the deputy clerk on as well. Then you've got your usual income and expenditure report you like to have a look at in this meeting.
Okay, does anybody have any questions on cash book 1, please? Any questions on cash book 2? Okay, so on cash book 2, you'll understand that there was an overpayment to Securica, but obviously that's been rectified and we've got the money back. Yeah. Okay. Any questions on the detailed income and expenditure? None at all? Okay, so bank reconciliation statement for cash book 1. So you've got 2 unpresented checks. So number 1, I appreciate that Mirpur Cricket Club have only just given us an address to send the check to. So hopefully that will be sent out this week. And Unique Facilities are the people who are doing the grip bins. So they are still being paid by check, are they?
No, they're being paid digitally. I think the reason that's still showing is because this is November's, so they will have been paid at the beginning of December. So it wasn't reconciled in November, so it's still showing as outstanding on that reconciliation.
Righty-ho. So the next one is the 30-day notice account, which we're happy with, Naomi.
Yeah, so that is that acts as it holds your money, and usually payments don't come out of that. There's just one direct debit that comes out of that, the Kasirika.
Okay, thank you. And Joe, I can't remember what it's called. PSDF.
Sector Deposit Fund. Sorry, Chair. Your Public Sector Deposit Fund. That's your investment with the CCLA.
Thank you. That's lovely. Okay, so I would resolve that we have noted all of those. Everybody happy? Really good. Okay, so.
Yeah, sorry, can we just approve the November payments as well, please?
I thought that Councillor Mansell and Councillor Curtis did that.
Just resolve that. It's just the minutes, that's all.
We resolved to approve the payments and that Councillor Mansell and Curtis carry out the checks, but because the payments have already gone through.
Yes, I would like to propose that. Seconded. Thank you, Councillor Adams. All those in favour? Super. Thank you very much.
And is it if someone proposes that it's in relation to the deputy clerk being on the bank mandate, we probably should just propose and second that as well for the minutes.
I'll propose that. Seconded. Councillor Mansell. All in favour?
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anything else I've missed off?
I think that's it. That's brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, item number 8. Budget 2021/22. deep breath, everybody. Now then, has everybody received all their information? Has everybody been able to go through all of this information? So I'm assuming that I don't, or Joe and I don't have to go through this line by line. Okay. Well, that being the case, I would like to throw this out to the floor so that anybody can ask any questions that they so wish. Do I have any questions? Councillor Graham, please.
Thank you, Chair. If I can just go to item 11, about the predicted overspend. Is there any detail behind that as to why we're predicting such an overspend this coming year? Thank you.
So, do you want to?
Yeah, I can take that one, Chair.
What do you want?
In response to Councillor Graham's question, so Council agreed to, if you like, prop up the budget this year with, I think, about approximately £64,000 out of reserve. So last January, that was the budget that was agreed. Obviously, throughout the year, additional expenditure has been incurred. So the two best examples I can give you are the £20,000 for the dementia-friendly Keighley and Worth Valley Counselling. Obviously, they were taken from general reserves. So we've put that figure into the budget, and that's why you've ended up with the budget this year will be overspent. It wouldn't have been it's the way I've written it in the report, Councillor Graham, isn't very clear, but you were always going to use some reserves to balance your budget this financial year. Now it's not as bad as it would have been, but it's not as good as it could have been either. So we are taking less than we thought, but we are still taking, so we find, we're still taking 65,536. And I think we budgeted 64,819 originally. So it's just ever slightly more, but that's because we had the additional £20,000 that wasn't factored into the original budget when you set it last January. Does that explain it? Probably not the most easiest way to explain it, but
No, that's fine. Thank you. Thank you, Joe.
Any other questions from committee members? Luke Mansell.
Yeah, just to start, Chair. I just want to know about the logic of the member training at such a high figure, considering we've actually only spent 5% of this year's budget on that. I know for next year it's set at, hold on, where is it? It's the budget, sorry. What is it? 7,000, yeah. But this year we've still got £6,000 left. So I want to know the logic of why that's been sort of set so high. As well as admin as well, it seems to have doubled from 4,000 to 8,000, which again seems quite a hike. So I just want clarity on the logic behind that, Chair.
Joe?
yeah, thank you, Chair. In terms of the first question relating to the member training budget, the reason the budget working group decided to leave it at the same amount, Policy and Governance have approved a new council training plan at their last meeting. Council will remember that we undertook a skills audit a few months ago. That's now all been collated and that's now been developed into a training plan. And in fact, Councillor Curtis is the first recipient of the training plan because he's booked his first training course for later next year. Obviously, a lot of this year has been impacted by the fact that a lot of training courses have stopped. They've gone to short online training courses, which are much cheaper, between £15 and £35. But I think leaving the budget as it was is under the assumption that as the next financial year progresses, that in-person training will restart and there'll be a need to have training courses. I think the Policy and Governance Committee, when they were looking at the training plan, are keen to have Keighley specific training courses, which are tailored almost to Keighley's elected members. Councillor Munsell's second point around the office administration budget line. If I'm honest, Councillor Munsell, it's a result of the budget processing system that we had at the start of the year when we tried to set the budget in the space of a week. We just literally went through the budget line and we would just, the Finance Audit Committee at the time just went through the budget line by line and just reduced the figures. What I've done is I've gone back and looked at actual spend on last year and this year, and I've tried to present the budget in what I think is a more appropriate figure for each budget line. So the office administration does include things like, at the moment, parking permits, which is an issue which the Human Resources Committee are looking at. So we are trying to get that budget line down. It includes things like obviously the Zoom fees, which we currently pay, mobile phones, which we are tied into contracts with. Not all the staff have mobile phones, but the staff that do have, some that do have mobile phones, we are tied into those contracts. So we have really looked at the budget and tried to give it a much more realistic feel of that amount. Obviously, if members want to change it, that's entirely fine, and we'll work around it. But we've tried to present it as what we think was the most appropriate level. And I can provide detailed line by line spend in the budget for this year if that's helpful to members.
Is that all right, Councillor Mansell? Thank you. Do I have any other committee members asking a question? In which case, could I ask Councillor Westerman to speak?
Thank you, Chair. I'm just looking through this appendix here and I look at the events budget. I'm a little bit disappointed that each item has not got its own value outside of it, i.e. St George's Day, etc., which was a request from the committee that when it goes to the budget working group, it was proposed by myself at the committee and seconded and passed, that they are itemised. So when members of the public or PK for Little Johns have a look at our records, they can see that we've done what we've been told to do by them in the past, which we got a slating for, shall I say, rightfully we got a slating for how we managed our finances as a council. It says total for the events committee £22,000. It's not itemised. You know, we got told you can't just say you want £22,000 and spend X amount on this, X amount on that. You must be itemised. When you go shopping, you have a shopping list and you put down how much things are costing. And I would like, against each item, Christmas dinner, I'm just trying to look at it now whilst I'm on with you. Remembrance Sunday, events miscellaneous, Christmas decoration, St George's Day, Yorkshire Day, Oktoberfest, Eid, Keighley Integrated Gala. I'd like a figure outside of them, which was given to the budget working group.
Thank you very much, Councillor Westman. Thank you. There are specific reasons for this, please. Can I just invite the RFO to speak at this moment?
So my understanding is that money won't be spent until it is itemised, but when an event is agreed, it will be agreed at the committee what that budget is for that event, and then the money will be spent against that budget, and that line can get put in with that budget amount. But at this stage, I might be wrong with this, but my understanding was they didn't want to commit to the individual projects and the individual amounts, and that is legitimate.
I'd like to come in on a point of order there, Chair, and that's for clarification. The committee agreed how much each event would cost, right? If you go over it, tough, you're not allowed to go over it. You go up to that, and that's what we set down as a committee. We did itemise how much each event would cost, and I requested that then went to the budget working group, and the committee requested with them specific figures, so we don't get our fingers burnt by the external auditors or PKF Littlejohn who do the auditing, they'll come back to us and say, you can't just say you want so-and-so. There must be a price tag at each event. That's already been passed to the budget working group. If it hasn't been passed...
Thank you very much, Councillor Westerman. Can I just ask for the town clerk to clarify for this, please?
I'm sorry, Chair, I'm on a point of
I'm
order.
sorry, Councillor Westerman. I have asked for the town clerk to clarify.
The point of order overrules the Chair. Can I just remind you of that? I was speaking, Chair, so can you allow me...
The ruling on the point of order is a matter for the Chair.
A point of order overrules anybody that's speaking. If you have a look, Mr. Clark.
I'll let Councillor Westerman, you need to let the chairman rule on point of order, and their decision is final.
But I was speaking. You can't just cut me off halfway through a thing. We're never going to learn.
A point of order is not an opportunity to make a speech. It's a point of order which you've made. You then have to get a ruling off the chair, and that ruling is then final.
But I hadn't finished speaking, which is very rude on behalf of the chair. I'm sorry, but this council never going to learn. I'm going to leave the meeting because obviously us as councillors are not allowed to say anything when there's a chair involved. I'm sorry about that.
Just to come back on Councillor Westerman's point, if you look at other budget lines such as the community development budget line, where it's in there at, I think this year it's 13,750. That's what the committee has requested. If you look into the actual finance papers that you've got in front of you tonight, you will see there is a breakdown. Once the committee decides how it wants to spend its budget, you'll see there's a budget line for the befriending, there's a budget line for the theatre pop-up. So once the committee decided, you then go through. And again, it's entirely a matter for councils. You know, we will work however you want to work it. The reason we've suggested you do it this way is if you line by line allocate £2,000 for St George's Day, for example, £2,000 for Yorkshire Day. If that event is underspent, the Events and Leisure Committee then have to come back to the Finance Audit Committee to request that money be veered from that budget line into another budget line if it wants to spend more money on the Christmas events because it's underspent on the St George's Day. By allocating it into the events budget, and then as throughout the year, the events committee deciding how much it wants to spend on each event, it gives the Events and Leisure Committee a much tighter control of their own budget, and it avoids the unnecessary work coming back to the Finance Committee every time they want to move money from one budget line into a second budget line. If that's what the council wants us to do, absolutely fine, we will do it, but we're just trying to make it easy for the committees to control their own budgets.
Councillor Westman, does that help?
No, actually it doesn't.
Okay, I apologise if I have seemed a little harsh over the last few minutes. So I apologise for that. So would you like to explain again? I do beg your pardon.
Right. What I'm trying to explain is we're never going to learn until we get things right. What we was told by PKF Littlejohn, which cost us £73,000 because we'd done things wrong. Committees were asking for a carte blanche amount like £30,000 for their committee to spend. Right. It wasn't itemised. Members of the public saw the records, went to PKF Littlejohn and said, you can't just ask for so much money and just spend it on different things willy-nilly. So PKF Littlejohn stated, and I'll try to find the report, that if a committee wants money, they've got to say what they want to spend it on. You set your budget on what you want to spend on each item. The committee set up and said, I think it was £3,000 Christmas lunches, £5,000 on the community awards, etc. All those was individually listed, and we went through them all. And what we said was, if the event is costing more than that, sorry, that's the amount we've got to spend on each event. Not a penny more, not a penny less. You've got to spend within your means. It's the public's money we're playing with, and these have got to be itemised. And we did request it as a committee that they were sent to the budget group, working group, and itemised each item, and it totaled up to the money we requested. That's the point I'm coming from. What I don't want is this council to be dragged back down by members of the public who have a right, shall I say, because it's their money, who have a right to complain to the financial people and external auditors and bring the council to book. End of the day, we are councillors that get elected by the public. No disrespect to the officers, they are paid members of staff. If a committee requests that they are put in a budget working group in an heading, each one, that should be done. I'm sorry, Chair, but that's how I feel about it.
Okay, totally understand that, but I also totally understand that we can't, I don't believe that we can itemize anything within your budget because we don't have the proper feedback for that. So we don't know how much it will cost.
Again, I will say, if you as the Finance Audit Committee want to recommend to council that the events budget line is broken down and allocated as the committee have suggested, that's fine. We will do it. But we don't do the same. Just to come back on Councillor Westerman's point, we don't do the same thing for community development. We don't do the same thing for water and transport. We don't do the same thing for allotments and leisure. All these committees have budgets which they manage. All the recommendation is try to make it easier for the committee to manage. If that's not what the councillors want, absolutely fine. We'll do the opposite way. But there is nothing in our that is not improper accounting what we are suggesting. It is perfectly reasonable, perfectly legitimate that is done because everything will still be transparent. Every event will have its own budget line. All the payments will be approved and authorised exactly the same way as everything else. It's just trying to make it easier for the Events and Leisure Committee to manage their budget throughout the year. If the committee decides it wants to do it the other way, that's fine. But that's a matter for you as members.
Because you see, Councillor Westman, if you are under budget or over budget on particular events, then you have to have environments here, there and everywhere, which will slow it down for you. Naomi, do you have anything further to say?
I didn't appreciate what was said really, but it is what it is. I mean, we wouldn't, as officers, be doing something. We work very closely with the internal auditors. It is a question that I can ask them and I can provide the answer at the next meeting if that helps.
I'll say to you again, it's a matter for you as members. If you want it itemised, obviously you're not approving the budget tonight, you're making a recommendation to council. So you can always have this debate again at full council if you so wish. But it really is a matter for members of the committee how they want to present their budget to full council.
Okay. Okay. I think we've done that topic to death, really. Does anybody else have anything further that they wish to talk about this proposed budget to full council? Councillor Mansell?
Yeah, Chair. Yeah, I mean, we will have to decide one way or the other what we want to do with events, if we want it to be itemised and we want to recommend that or not. So yeah, the topic that I want to discuss is ward improvement. I really do. I first want it on the record that I respect the work which the working group has done overall. It's a far clearer document than we've had in the past. And I have nothing but respect for you, Councillor Curtis, and the office for that. I do think on ward improvement, I'm struggling a bit with it because I've been of two minds, I'll admit that, about what we should do with it. But I'm struggling with the current recommendation to cut it to 500. I understand why that's been done in terms of trying to cut the budget more, but I wonder if that is perhaps a cut too far. If we do intend to keep it, I just worry that £500 is just not enough to make it really worthwhile. And certainly, for example, in my ward, we would have spent that in one, that's sort of the scale of that. And I'm also worried about smaller wards as well, where at least in Oakcliff, there are 3 councillors who can share some of that money with each other, where in wards like North Park, there's only 1. And some of the projects which, for example, we can do in Oakcliff can be done in North Park, but in Oakcliffe we'd be able to get it done because we'd have 3 councillors who can commit money to make that balance. But in our part, they'd only be able to make a part contribution, which just doesn't seem balanced. So if we are going to keep it, I think we need to make it a bit more worthwhile than 500, because I just don't think that's a sufficient amount of money.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mansell. Councillor Graham, please.
Thank you,
I will
Chair.
come back to you, Councillor Mansell. I beg your pardon. I will come back to you.
Thank you. I do have concerns about the ward fund, and I know how difficult it is to find extra money in that. But we just need to, I think we need to be very careful about where we're taking it from. A lot of the projects that take place that the town council organises are held around the centre of Keighley. Now, we just need to be very careful that we don't end up doing what Bradford Council are doing to us, which is ignoring the outlying districts by reducing the ward fund to them, just as Bradford does to ourselves, starving us of funds. And I say that reducing it to £500 is a very small amount, considering how much we're spending and do spend in the centre of Keighley. I think it would be fair to leave it as it is now. We've already had one hit on this where it was halved and it went from 2 to 1, and I could understand that. But to reduce it down to £500, I think for me it would be a non-starter. You've also got to think that what the town councillors are doing within their own wards is we are the face of the town council for a lot of the community members. So what they see us doing and supporting in the community is how they see the council. So suddenly by reducing it to £500, you're then like creating that rift, because a lot of people don't keep up with Keighley Town Council. It is the ward councillors who keep them informed. So I wouldn't be in agreement with reducing it to £500. I think we've already had a very big hit already within the space of 2 years. And I would like to see it remain as it is this year at 1,000. Thank you.
Okay, everybody, this is obviously generating a huge amount of interest. So I'm just going to continue on with this. Can I call on Councillor Clarkson, please?
Thank you very much, Chair. I believe moving forward with the fulfilment of the dementia-friendly and Airedale counselling grant, it'll be easy to budget for higher ward improvement, and I'm not necessarily against increasing it this time. However, if we were to keep it up, I would like to ensure that we are balancing the budget in some way. So I don't know if any members have any suggestions of other items that can be removed or etc. Because personally, I would like to ensure the budget remains balanced.
Thank you very much, Councillor Clarkson. Councillor Adams, please.
Yeah, I'm taking on board what both Councillor Mansell and Councillor Graham have both said. And I have to say, and I mean, yourself and Councillor Curtis, I struggled a little bit with reducing the ward improvement funds when we were in the budget working group. So can I just suggest that we look at it again and look at the uniform equality? Not all that was spent. If we can ensure that councillors keep the £1,000 per councillor and maybe take it from the uniform equality vouchers. It's just a thought.
Thank you very much, Councillor Adams. Councillor Curtis, please.
Yeah, I think the discussions are about maintaining a balanced budget, which we must do. But listening to what's being said now, I think the Ward Improvement Fund is it's where the local council people see our funding. It's where the outline areas, which has been said, see the council work. So yes, balanced budget. We must keep going on about a balanced budget. But the Ward Improvement Fund, yeah, I think I would be happy to see that go up to £1,000 and see if we can find savings from elsewhere.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Curtis. So, can I just say that it is my understanding that what we will be really trying to do is, yes, there would be £500 per councillor. However, that would also be in conjunction with the community development work that is already currently going on. People will see in various wards that this is still going on. So it's not always just for the actual councillor. I know people are going to disagree with me, but please bear with me. The fact is this would only be for a year. This is when we can get rid of the awful debt that we've got of £20,000 for dementia friendly and for the counselling. Yeah. After that, absolutely, I would imagine that would go straight back up to £1,000 per counsellor. This is 1 year that I'm actually asking for. 1 year of £500. Okay. Just a thought, as other people have said, but just a thought. So, Councillor Mounsell, please.
Thank you, Chair, and I completely respect your thought there, and I understand why you're proposing that. I think my point is, I'm sceptical of the Community Development Committee, I'm going to be honest with you, because in the past when I've raised suggestions to them for things in my ward, they've tended to focus more on larger scale projects and they've judged quite a few of them as not really worth the time. And I sort of think if we're going down that route, we might as well just push everything to them and that they can do it themselves. But I don't think we should do that because I think it's really is a unique thing for councillors to be able to do. And I think I trust this committee to look at that as we have completely through this year to do that. I mean, you're quite right. I think balancing the budget is good. And I will make some suggestions on how we could do that. I mean, I know the Community Development Committee have had an increase of 3,500. I imagine, although I'm happy to be corrected, that's because of the ambition to balance out a little bit if we cut in ward improvement. But I don't see why that 3.5 can't just come back here and stay where it is if that's the case. I think admin, as I've said, I'm sure we can cut that down by 3,000 or 2,000. And member training, possibly 1,000 or 2,000. I think there's a bit of room there which we could look at to cut that back a bit. They're just a few of my ideas. But while I completely respect your views, Councillor Abberton, on that, and I understand why you're trying to do it, I think for me, I'm more committed really into thinking it'd be better for the council if we keep that at £1,000. But I again respect you for your views, Councillor Abberton.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mounsell. Can I please go to Councillor Adams?
Yeah, I think, first of all, I think we need to not lump community development and ward improvement grants together. They're two completely separate things. And the community development doesn't necessarily go on in all areas predominantly. So I think we have to keep those separate. And I think secondly, it might not be just for a year. We can't think like that, and we can't, you know, something else could happen next year which changes things yet again. So I think as a committee it needs discussing and sorting now, but it's everybody's input and it's everybody's agreed decision, or the majority's agreed decision as to what to do. I don't think the funding should be taken from community development, but equally, I don't think that community development should be lumped together with ward improvement.
Thank you very much, Councillor Adams. Councillor Graham, please.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I completely understand where Councillor Monsell and Councillor Adams are coming from. I don't believe it is right to muddle community development and ward improvement fund money. And that's because exactly what Councillor Adams has said. Not all community development takes place in all communities. And the ward improvement money is there to make sure that every single community under Keighley Town Council actually gets something to improve their environment. And it's not left to a committee on community development to pick and choose what they think would be right, because they're not talking for the whole of Keighley, because communities would miss out. So I think we do need to. I know there's lots of work that's been done on this budget from others, and I appreciate that. I really do, because it must have been very difficult. But I do think that we should go back, and you know, I agree with Councillor Adams. Once the ward improvement money goes down, it's not going to go back up. In fact, the next step, because I'm cynical, I've been around for many years, I think the next step would be we wouldn't get it at all. That's how it works. I've been around long enough to see how it works. So I would really like to see it remain at 1,000, because everybody, it's far more reaching, the small things that we can do right across Keighley district. It's not just about the centre. It's not just about the big projects that we see happening, which might raise the profile of the council because they're big projects, which is great. But we also have another face, and that's the face all the councillors have in their wards. And I would ask everybody to just think carefully, where can we grab some money, you know, to try and get us over this. You know, I appreciate Councillor Aberton that, you know, about the 20,000 that, you know, we have already committed, that we won't have that the following year. And maybe because we're already committed for that 20,000, could we not, for this year only, reduce the grant application amount to 35 and take a bit from there to help, you know, support the ward improvement funds? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Graham. Very, very good point, the last one, actually. Thank you very much. Good idea. Councillor Clarkson.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'd like to make a suggestion that we try and rebudget the community development heading at something like 24,000, 22,500, so it's 750, 800 per councillor by reallocating other budget lines. If members would.
Sorry, say again, Councillor Clarkson.
I would like to suggest that we do increase the ward improvement fund by up to approximately 750 or 800 pounds per ward, so 22,500 or 24,000 by reallocating other budget headings accordingly to make sure we keep a balanced budget. And The only reason I'm not going to suggest anything specific this time is because I think there's all sorts of areas that members have highlighted that we could look to trim slightly, maybe even the town magazine as well, because that seemed, from my point of view as well, is it £5,000 for the magazine to print and distribute? And I don't necessarily think it's the most effective way of communicating in this day and age. So a reduction or elimination of that would be one of my suggestions, along with maybe slight trimming of the grants heading, etc. I hope that was clear. Sorry.
Thank you, Councillor Clarkson.
Yeah, if I can just pop in there just before you move on, just to give committee a bit of information. Councillor Munsell raised the point about the community development budget and the increase going from 10,000 last year to 13,750, I think it is this year. I just want to be just so the councillors are aware and they have the information. The additional 3,750, if my figure is right, Councillor.
Yeah, it is.
That was the committee wanted to set up in-person ward forums this financial year, but obviously with the COVID outbreak, all that got put on the back burner. So it's what they've asked for is they still want to do that work on top of everything else. So that's why they've asked for more money this year. It's that bit, but again, it's a decision for you as members to recommend your budget. But it wasn't. That additional money was specifically related to the ward forums. However, if you decide to just make it £10,000, the committee would have to find a way of working it in if they wanted to do it. But that's a matter for you. Chair, I'm sorry, just obviously you've had quite a few ideas just bounded about, and Naomi and I quickly trying to do sums. So I think somebody's mentioned you could possibly take £5,000 from the grants and make that 35. So that would mean you still need an extra, assuming you want to replace another 10,000. Councillor Munsell raised a point about the office administration budget. It was £6,000 because we did a vehement during the financial year. That does include, as I've said before, it includes mobile phone costs. It does also include the payroll service level agreement fee, which it's just over £2,000. It has this financial year included parking permits, which is an issue that Human Resources are looking at, as Councillor Munsell knows. But what I've done is I've assumed that's in there because I can't unassume it not being in there, if that makes sense. So you could put that back down to 6, so that might give you another 2. Members training, again, Councillor Munsell mentioned that. Again, that's entirely up to you as members. You have a training plan, you've identified some training needs. It's to what extent you think you need money to deliver that. If you're going to reduce it, you can maybe take £2,000 out of there. So that gets us down to trying to find 7,000, I think, from, gets down to finding 6,000, if my sums are right.
6,000, yeah.
And somebody mentioned, I'll just try and cover them all off, Chair. I think might have been Councillor Clarkson, or it might even been Councillor Munsell, mentioned the Uniform Equality Scheme. Obviously, that was £25,000. Sorry,
it was Julie. It was Julie.
Sorry, that was £25,000 last year. Obviously, that came under budget. I think one of the reasons it came under budget was we issued just over 1,000 vouchers to the primary schools. 744, I think, were the actual number of vouchers that we used. There is a debate for you to have as members if you think that is a reasonable use of your resources. I have my view, the office team have our view, but for you to decide if that money could be better used elsewhere, and that obviously is available to you. What I would say to you, my recommendation to you is if you are going to look at the Uniform Equality Scheme, you either have it or you don't. I don't think you can cut it a bit more. You either don't have it or you have it. I think 15 is the lowest you can go to make it a worthwhile scheme. I don't think you can play around with it. I think you either do it or you don't. I think the Town Magazine Chair, Councillor Clarkson rightly mentioned that one. That was in last year's budget. It is a request that came in from the Policy and Resource Committee that went through the working group. So we have priced it up in terms of printing an 8-page colour magazine and delivering it to 25,500 properties, residential properties in Keighley. And again, it's a simple matter of, if you think that is a worthwhile use of your finance. We do have a growing database of email addresses. We are sending out an e-newsletter this week. We are trying to better engage with the public. We are trying to use our social media pages more. So those were reasonable points that Councillor Clarkson made. But again, it's a decision call for you as members to make, if that is worthwhile spending or not. It's not core work. It's not something you have to have. It is something which you have the choice to say yes or no to. I think that dealt with most of the questions, Chair. I'll let you carry on with your deliberations.
Thank you very much. Councillor Adams.
Yeah, can I just query something first before I go on to my point? Town Clerk, am I right in thinking that to achieve quality status, we have to have one hard copy, at least one hard copy of the Town magazine?
Yeah, Chair, the Deputy Mayor is quite right. We would have to produce something in hard copy. I've been looking at it. I have it to start just by sheer chance. I have the document here next to me. We would have to produce it, but it doesn't have to be produced en masse. It could be dropped in prime locations in the town centre, in shops, etc. So there's a scale, if you like, in elastic band how far you can go. You can go to every household, or you can produce a small number and distribute it around the town centre. But yeah, the Deputy Mayor is quite right. To achieve the quality mark of the local award scheme, we would need to produce something on an annual basis.
And so how oh, I beg your pardon, Councillor Adams.
Just following on from that, then I would ask again to look at the uniform equality scheme, because I would much rather the money go to ward improvement funds, so that you're covering the whole ward, the whole of the age spectrum, from not just school children or whatever. You're covering everybody. So I would really like to go back and look at the uniform equality. I don't know what anybody else thinks.
Okay, so Councillor Adams, are you advocating that we don't have the uniform equality scheme this coming year?
Yes, I am.
You are. Okay, so that would then give us £25,000 extra.
15, Chair.
Yeah.
15, Chair.
Not 25. It would be 15.
Which, sorry?
It would be 15, not 25. We spent 25 this last time, but we've reduced it, haven't we, Clark?
Yeah, yes, Chair. The working group, it was 25 last year. You brought it down to 15 this year. So if
Oh, I beg your pardon. I'm sorry, Councillor Adams. I beg your pardon.
Councillor Adams' proposal, that 15, you could literally move straight across into the ward.
Okay, so in that case, if we decide not to have the uniform equality programme this year, then that 15,000 moves straight over to the ward improvement scheme, and everybody retains their £1,000.
Yes. So could I propose that, please?
Yes, of course you can.
So I would like.
I think Councillor Graham and Councillor Mounsell together can second.
So the proposal is then, Town Clerk, to remove the uniform equality
scheme.
Transfer the monies to the ward improvement scheme, which would then give each councillor £1,000 in the ward.
Okay, so seconded by Councillor Mounsell and Councillor Graham. All in favour? I think that's carried, Mr. Clark.
I think there's an abstention or an against. I think you've got to ask Chair.
Oh, have I? Okay. Does anybody wish to abstain? Because I can actually see everybody, Councillor Adams, and everybody raised their hands.
No, they didn't.
So, and anybody saying no?
No, they didn't. No, Chair, I'm sorry to come back in again, but one councillor didn't vote for it.
Pardon?
That would be me, Chair. I didn't vote for it.
I beg your pardon, Councillor Clarkson, I thought you did. Sorry, are you abstaining
No,
or no?
Against.
Against. Jolly good. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, Julie, I thought you'd said, beg your pardon. Beg pardon, everybody. Glad you're here, Julie. Right. Now then, with that amendment, do I have any further queries, questions, or anything else for this budget? So, Councillor Clarkson.
Yes, I would just like to suggest that we do itemise events as per Councillor Westerman's request, because it was minuted and I was on the committee and it was suggested as such. And also as well, where possible, if more information can be provided about what watching transport may spend their money on, they would be my suggestions. If that's okay with yourself.
I would second that, actually.
Can I just ask the town clerk to come in with me on this one again? Because obviously we had this information at the budget working group, but I felt that we actually talked that through both with Councillor Curtis and Councillor Adams, and I thought we'd agreed that they didn't need to have it itemised at that particular moment.
Yeah, I think if I'm honest, it's one of these things which is a fairly small minor thing, which could end up being spending quite a lot of debate either at this committee or at full council. From my point of view, and Naomi's point of view, it was an attempt to give more control of the committee budget to the events and leisure. I'm quite relaxed. If the events and leisure committee want to list them individually, that's fine, and we will do that in the budget that, if you decide tonight, that we put forward to full council. The only caveat on that is if the events and leisure are going to do that, then if they want to start moving money around their budget line, we will bring it back to you every time they want to move something. And that again is, it's entirely your decision as members, but it was an attempt to make that easier. And I will just point out as well, the water transport budget isn't broken down. The allotments budget isn't broken down. The civic centre and strategy budget isn't broken down. But I'm not going to die a death. I'm not going to die a death in the ditch for it. If members want it, members will have it.
Thank you very much. Councillor Curtis.
Yeah, thanks. I don't want you to die a death, Clark, not on this issue. The committee's asked for it, and it appears to be in the minutes. I think you're being helpful, but I think we have to respect what the committee's asked for and what's been proposed and seconded. So I'm relaxed with that as well. So I'll move that to a vote, Chair.
Okay, would you like to propose that, please, Councillor Curtis or Councillor Adams? Anybody?
Yeah, propose.
Seconded.
Okay, those in favour?
Chair, we do have the figures, so I'll add them into the budget sheet that gets sent to full council, if that's okay.
There's a lot of people who are actually not voting at this point. So I would like to ask if there's anything else that they wanted for this. I'm sorry, it's very difficult for me because I see both sides. So Councillor Graham.
Thank you, Chair. The only reason why I didn't agree with it is because it is very difficult setting a plan, and then that plan has to change because of circumstances. and circumstances, this at the moment, our current lives are changing weekly, monthly. And to then start putting down exactly what you're going to spend the money on. I think that if committees get a budget, they're always answerable, they're always accountable to that budget. They always have to have an audit trail. So I think that committees should be able to responsibly hold a budget and spend it how they vote on what they think it should be spent on. Just like the watch and transport and the allotments, and that they have a budget, but they're not coming back every 2 minutes to ask us to spend this money. They just have a budget, and once that budget is spent, that's it. They don't have any more money. So I think it's nice to see what they're going to spend their money on, but who knows what they're going to spend their money on in the next financial year? It could be anything, and it might not be the teddy bear's picnic. You know, I think we should let them just have a budget and then choose. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Graham. Councillor Mansell, please.
Yeah, I'm split on this. I think it may be my chair head on that I personally wouldn't like a restricted budget where I needed to justify moving things around in a pot. But equally, I respect the right of any committee to ask for that if they so wish. And I also think if we are going to sort of say, right, well, you're doing it that way, then we do need consistency there. So I'm really struck either way, because I respect the committee's right to say that, but I also personally think as long as we're not going to get pulled up in front of the courts and told we're naughty boys for doing this, that, and the other, then I don't think I think it's a matter of individual committee decision.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mansell. I think actually, having listened around and what have you, I think that for this particular committee, the events committee, it's a very different kettle of fish. I mean, watch and transport, you pretty much know what you're going to be spending your money on. Allotments, I think you know pretty much what you're going to be spending your money on. I know he's got a plan. I think that for this particular committee, I think that I will go with Councillor Adams and Councillor Curtis, and say, yes, we have it itemised. It doesn't matter a jot. If they need to come and ask us for varmints or whatever, that's fine. That is up to them. And for one particular committee, I think that's okay. I absolutely think that's fine.
Yep, Jay, that's fine with us. That's yep.
Yeah. So I'd like to go with Councillor Adams' proposal and Councillor Curtis seconding. All those in favour, please. Okay, so that's 4. Those abstaining, 1 abstention, and those against, 1 against. I think that's carried.
Yes, Chair. Yep.
Thank you. Okay. With that amendment as well, are there any further queries that we have with regards to this budget?
Chair, there's one from the officers, if that's okay.
Yes.
I spoke to you about it earlier, and I spoke to Councillor Munsell earlier, and it's just it's a technical change within the allotments committee budget. So let me find it, Chair. We've been doing a bit more work on individual budget lines, and on the allotments budget line, we're going to reduce that down to 13,000. So we're going to take 2,000 from that particular budget line and move it across into the town hall square maintenance budget line to make that 17. So the committee budget stays the same, it's just moving it around. The reason being is we've done a bit more detailed work on what we think the expected costs of the town hall square are going to be. We've also now got the draft service level agreement from Bradford in terms of the management of the town hall square, Church Green, and that has some more requirements for the town council. And the allotment repairs budget line isn't looking too bad this year. So it's just those two minor changes. I spoke to you, this chair, and councilman's chair of allotments, and you were both okay. So if you could approve those two changes as well.
So proposed. Seconded by Councillor Mansell. All those in favour? Thank you very much. Unanimous. Okay. If there are no further questions with regards to this item, the budget item, I would like to propose that we present this balanced budget to full town council in January. Are you seconding, Councillor Adams? Thank you very much. Can I ask all in favour? Fantastic. Thank you all very, very much, and thank you very much for all your questions and your thoughts. Been great. Thank you very much.
We will update the budget and we will send it to members as soon as we can. What we will now do is, once we're back after the Christmas break, we are going to hold some budget briefings for members who aren't on this committee. Try and give us time to answer questions. We'll do them via Zoom, we'll do them during the day, and we'll do some in the evening. Because it can be difficult when you get to a full council meeting for people to be able to ask any questions they've got. So we'll do maybe half a dozen budget briefings before then, just so members have the chance to ask any questions. But no, thank you for that. That's great. Thank you.
Oh, fantastic. Well done, everybody. That was quite a hard one, I think, today. Right, item number 9, grant applications.
Yeah, you've only got it's applications for ward development funds from yourself, Councillor Bernardini, Councillor Kirby, and Councillor Corkindale. So you normally just look through them, but it's just for ratification, and it's all related to the same project, which is the heating system at the Good Shepherd Centre. Do work.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you, Joe.
Sorry, I'm looking away from the screen. It's it's members grants from yourself, Councillor Bernardini, Councillor Kirby, and Councillor Corkindale, and it all relates to the same scheme, which is the heating system at the Good Shepherd Centre.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a question even before we started. So, Councillor Clarkson.
Yeah, so I just wanted to clarify. The Good Shepherd Centre is, I believe it's said to be on West Lane Church. Is it the organizer? It's the charity organisation with Graham Mitchell, is it? The Good Shepherd Centre. Okay, so I just wanted to clarify because I know 4 different councils are pulling in, so I wanted to make sure that all the wards do get some benefit, and I'm happy that they do, with that being the case.
Oh, we do. Joe, am I allowed to vote on this one?
You are? Yes, Chair. Yeah, you're fine. Yeah.
Okay. So I have Councillor Mansell here.
Yeah, I just want to say, Chair, I don't have much in the way of a problem with this, and I'd like to propose that we accept all of them.
I believe Councillor Adams is seconding. All those in favour? Marvellous. Done. So carried. I've lost my... Oh, I've lost something. Hang on a second. Oh no. Yeah. Okay, so that was grant applications. Now we come to item number 10, Civic Arts, Media and Cultural Activities Report for decision. So Joe.
Yeah, we've got Jeff Bennett here, who's going to talk to you through some of the things he's been up to.
Oh, is that my cue now? Okay, thank you very much.
It is your cue, Jeff.
Lovely. Yeah. First of all, Chair, I'd like to apologise for not wearing a tie, as I did promise, but it's freezing cold in this caravan, and it's I'm better off like this.
Okay.
First of all, thank you for inviting me along to your meeting tonight. It's proved to be a much more entertaining alternative to EastEnders and Coronation Street, and so I shall endeavour to try and entertain you back a little bit before you make a decision on how you want to proceed with this. Since the beginning of October, I've been kind of working to a 12-week trial period, which, if you remember, there was an approved change of use of funding from funding that had already been promised for the third year of the Cabbage Club project, which obviously, due to COVID restrictions and various other things, is now lying fallow. So in that period of time, there was a couple of things that we wanted to develop, and one was to actually provide some graphic design support, some writing, some website design, and various other, if you like, artist in residence services to members and the council in general, in order to try and, if you like, to upgrade your public image a little bit and get things to look a little bit more professional than they have been doing in the past. At the same time, we were looking at developing what we're now calling the downstairs project, which is what used to be the cafe downstairs. And one of the things that I want to do with that is provide almost an easy access, open access point of contact for the public to both come and meet with their members, but also to get involved in some of the training programs that are going on with the successful joint application with the college to the CLLD funding pot. And I think all that's going to kick off round about January time. It's quite important, actually, for that particular project that members understand that whilst a lot of that work's actually going on out in local communities, in local community hubs, not a lot of people who are in need of those kind of services actually have the courage to walk through the door of a local community centre, which most of them are run by cliques. So, you know, it's important to have some kind of central point of contact where people can come in, feel easy, and then be taken out to their own local community centre with some kind of support. So the space downstairs is all about developing that, but it's also about developing an exhibition space. And I think if you're looking at one of the appendix to the report, some of you have seen those pictures a few times before in the Civic Centre meeting, where it's been agreed that you know, I can actually put some picture rails up and install a PA system and various other bits and bats to make that space useful. So what I'm trying to say is, if you want all this to happen, then it's up to you. You know, the 12-week period, the trial period is up. What I'd like you to do is have a look at what we've done already, and then make your mind up to see whether or not, you know, Keighley Urban Meadows is worth keeping on to continue to provide you with the services that you need into the new year, and hopefully beyond that in the months to come. So I'll be happy to answer any questions that members might want to ask in relation to that report and the appendix that I provided to it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Okay, opening it up to the floor. Any questions?
I think, Chair, obviously, I'll give you the officer input. Obviously, we get more than your pounds worth off the Meadows in terms of what we get back for. I think it's another 12 weeks at, another 24 weeks at £1,800 is what is asked. If you just look at Remembrance Sunday, the artwork that was on the front of the Civic Centre, that was done by Jeff. That's now kept. That's the town council's. That was stored away. The artwork, I think Jeff worked with Sarah, the events officer, to create the Poppy "We Will Remember Them" display, which was across. Jeff has done a lot of work behind the scenes on copy for the website. We are in the process of migrating to a new website, new web page, all better looking, more detailed. And Jeff's done a lot of work behind the scenes in creating that. The newsletter that will go out later this week, Jeff has curated the stories from officers and you as councillors. So there's lots of things going on behind the scenes which will start to come fruition. But we do get, you as members, get far more out of this than what you put into it, which is why I think as the officer we are happy to recommend that it is an excellent use of the resource which you previously allocated.
Absolutely, I'll second that one, definitely. I know Councillor Adams would like to have a word.
I'd just echo what the town clerk said, really. I think you've been invaluable, Jeff, and the artwork was fantastic, to be quite honest, and it highlighted the Civic Centre amazingly. In fact, I think it's one of the best Remembrance Sunday displays we've had as long as I've been a councillor. It's a pity that the world and his brother couldn't get to see it this year, but this would be, I would suggest that we just carry on as we are. Jeff's a wealth of information on Keighley. God, you can turn your hand to so much stuff. It is just unbelievable, and we need an asset like that.
I think what I'd like to add, Chair, as well, is that once the COVID restrictions are relaxed, we with Urban Meadows, we do have quite an extensive gang of, if you like, trained volunteers. One of which is even a member of the Magic Circle, you know, so we've got somebody who can even come and do magic acts for you. And, you know, judging from what's going on tonight, you know, maybe you're going to need that in the future. So it's pretty good at pulling rabbits out of hats. At the end of the day, the amount of resource, if you look at the report that we've got in there, and it does include an almost brand new Citroen dispatch van, which is all fully insured for business use, PA systems. We can do an alfresco bistro for up to 60 people in all weathers. We've got generators, we've got street food wok rigs, you know. So, and of course, if you remember last Christmas, we built that little stage and put the lights up, and Claire, you know, you came and sang a bit of karaoke with us. That's all been. That's all been upgraded. Julie, you'll remember that we did something up at Foster Gardens called the Little Night Inn. I think to repeat that stuff downstairs, you know, but maybe with a few paninis and you know, and some halal chicken soup or whatever it happens to be to go with it, could be absolutely fabulous fun. It's easy access, and it starts to promote the council as what it's good at. And I know you use the term community development quite narrowly in tonight's meeting, but actually community development's what you do right across the board. You know, you're actually, that's your primary function, is to be the representatives of the people of Keighley and get them excited about their town and get them involved in this whole business of active citizenship. What I'm proposing is that we establish a base for that.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Jeff. I'd like to call on Councillor Mansell, please.
First of all, on a less than serious note, you did karaoke, Councillor Everton, and I didn't see it.
That's sure good.
Next finance meeting, we're getting the music on. And secondly, I want to just reiterate what everyone said. It's brilliant. The plans are fantastic. I know we looked at them at the Civic Centre Strategy Committee. We were all happy and delighted with it. So it's brilliant. And I'd like to propose that we adopt the 2 recommendations, that we note the report and agree to continuing the collaboration up until March 2021, which it says on the report.
Fantastic. I'll second. Oh, Councillor Graham? Oh, you were going to second. Okay. Sorry, I just nipped in there quickly. Can I just say, all those in favour, please? I believe that is unanimous. Joe?
It is, Chair. Yeah, unanimous. Wonderful.
Well done, Jeff.
Thank you very much. Been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Jeff, feel free to go and have your tea if you don't want to
Yeah,
stay.
well, I've got to make it for Rest at Tribe as well, so I will do. Thank you very much.
All right, take care, Jeff.
Right, thank you. Bye.
Oh, lovely. So item number 11. This is the town plan, and this is just for noting. Is there anything particular that we need to note, Joe?
I don't think so, Chair. No, we're doing quite well.
I think we're pretty much there.
I hope to next time you'll probably have your internal audit report on the agenda next time round. And some of that are things which I'll mention in the town plan, like approved suppliers list, contracts, etc. But yeah, I think at this stage you just need to note it. Everything's moving along quite nicely with it.
Fantastic. Okay, so I think we'll resolve that that is now noted by this committee. And item number 12, future items for the agenda. So presumably that internal auditor report will go on there, will it, Joe?
Yeah, we'll check. Yeah, we're just waiting for the final draft and that'll be on your next agenda.
Okay. Do any committee members wish to have anything put onto the agenda for next time? Councillor Graham.
Thank you, Chair. Joe might be able to answer this straight away, but in the last financial year, some of the councillors banked Just Veg projects.
Yeah, we did. I did.
And for our ward, we had 2 planned, one in Longley to Waitsbrow and one in Parkwood, which was to the tune of £700. I just wondered what had happened to the money that had been banked for Just Veg, or whether or not it needs to go on to the agenda for next time round for an answer. Thank you.
Yeah, Chair, I think I can answer that. Jeff probably could have answered it better. We will come back to you for absolute clarity, and I will check with Pip and Naomi. But I think that money has been paid to Keelhaber Meadows, and they have ring fenced it in their bank account. And as and when we can deliver the Just Veg, again, we'll look at how we can do it. But I will come back with absolute clarity that is what has happened. But there is something in my head that tells me, I've had that conversation with the assistant town clerk and with the RFO, that did happen. Unless nobody can remember the conversation, I will come back with absolute clarity for members.
Okay, so is that going to go onto the agenda, or are we?
Yeah, that sense. I'll stack it on the next agenda so you can have it in writing.
We'll put it onto the next agenda. Okay, thank you. Councillor Adams?
Are we still quorate?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you call it by, there's 5 members, so you call it by 1. Well, 2 technically, I guess.
Okay. Any further items for the next agenda? No? If you do think of something that you would like to raise onto the agenda, can you please either email the town clerk or myself, and we will ensure that it is put on. Okay, so that just leaves us with the date of the next meeting. The date of the next meeting of this committee will be held on Monday, the 18th of January 2021 at 6 p.m. Via Zoom, Joe?
I'm afraid so.
Oh, I think so. It only now remains for me to say thank you very, very much, everybody, for attending this meeting. And I just want to wish everybody a very, very happy Christmas. And I know Councillor Mansell wants to speak.
No, I just want to say, obviously, I'll send the season wishes, but I just want to actually praise you, Chair. I mean, budget meetings are always tough and can be fractious, but I actually think councillors, yourself and everyone have really handled it well tonight. And considering we're actually finishing this meeting sooner than allotment and landscape, which arguably had less of a demanding agenda than this one, that really is just fab. So have a great Christmas, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. And thank you very much, Luke. That was very much appreciated. Everybody, take care. Have a good one.